So the next topic we are going to begin with is squint test. Okay, so now we are going to study about the tests which are associated with the squint. So before the squint test, we have to examine the squint, obviously. Okay, so how we'll examine the squint? So we will examine by the ocular movement. Okay, we'll see the ocular movement of the patient in the all directions of the gaze. Okay, so if there would be any mistake in any direction, then we can catch that by this test. Okay, so ocular movement in all direction of the gaze, that is the examination for this squint. Okay, now after the examination of the ocular movement, we are going to do the visual acuity test or visual acuity assessment, and we are going to assess the refraction also. That is nothing but spectacle numbers. We have to find the spectacle powers which you will prescribe, okay, or the refractory power, and this is called as retinoscopy or sciacopy. Okay, and for the retinoscopy you have to use mydriatic cycloplegics. Okay, we will use mydriatic cycloplegics. We are used to dilate it, okay, which are used to dilate these eyes, and after the dilation we'll find out the numbers, okay, the spectacle powers. For visual acuity, we are going to use the Snell's chart. Okay, very simple. And for spectacle powers, we are going to use retinoscopy. For retinoscopy, in less than 5 years of children, we are going to use 1% of atropine ointments. Remember, 1% atropine ointments are used in less than 5 years of children. And the drug of choice in adults, the drug of choice in adult is going to be 0.5 to 1% cyclopentatolone. So 0.5% to 1% cyclopentolate is used. Okay, cyclopentolate drops are used. Now, if there is an uncorrected hypertrophy leads to this uncorrected hypertrophemia, this leads to esotropia. So uncorrected hypermetropia leads to esotropia. Okay, and there is a loss of near vision. Okay, because it is hypertrophia, and this leads to over accommodation and over convergence of the eye. Okay, and there is a present of esotropia. Okay, this leads to esotropia. What is the treatment? So spectacles are used in this condition. Okay, and this complete phenomena, okay, this complete phenomena is known as accommodative squint. Okay, so from hypertrophia which leads to isotropia, so this complete phenomena is known as accommodation of squint. So other measurements for vergence is known as what are the further tests. So these are 4 tests. The most important is RAF test, okay, Royal Air Force test. For the first test is synoptophory, and the second is Livingstone gauge, and the third very common pencil test. We hold a pencil in front of the person and we tell them to look at the tip. Okay, after that we assess the patient what is he or she going to have. Okay, now the RAF test, the Royal Air Force test or the Royal Air Force rule. This test is the most important one, so we are going to study this test in a great detail. So what is this RAF test, Royal Air Force test? Okay, so it is nothing but, you can see this gadget, this is the RAF rule use gadget. So what we do with this, so the person who is being tested, he has to hold this gadget, okay, and one of its end is placed around the eye, and one of this end is to be held by the patient. Okay, so the target is moved forward or towards the patient. Okay, so this is the target over here. It has written over something, so this moves toward or forward to the patient. Okay, then what happens? So we note the distance, we note the distance of a person when the patient tells us to that there is a diplopia. Diplopia means there is double vision. Okay, so at the particular end, like assume this is the end where the person complains of diplopia. So like this we used to measure via the RAF. Okay, so the distance is called as, this distance of diplopia is called as NPC. Okay, near point convergence. Okay, and it is approximately less than 10 centimeters. Very easy. Other things over here are measurement of the ocular deviation. We can use further tests. These are objective tests and subjective tests. In objective test, the doctor itself tests up, and in the subjective test, the patient tells us their signs and symptoms. So signs and symptoms observed by the doctor is objective, and signs and symptoms told by the patient is subjective test. Okay, very simple. And these are the tests which comes under subjective and objective. Let us discuss about the objective test. The objective test, also known as the objective test, comprises of further subcategories as we saw in the table. Okay, so the first comes over here is Hirschberg's corneal reflex test. Okay, now in this Hirschberg corneal reflex test we use two things. Okay, these two things are used to find out these that are the distance of deviation and the degree of the deviation. These are the two things which we are going to find out by the Hirschberg's test. Okay, so here is an image which explains us how we are going to detect the deviation. So basically we are going to put the light on the eyes, and you can clearly see a white dot over here and here. This is nothing but the reflection of the light which appears on your eyes. Okay, so on the patient eyes you can see this whitish colored reflection. Okay, this whitish colored reflection in the middle part. Okay, and this will help us to identify the divergence. Okay, so we are basically going to draw a straight line where the straight line would be passing through the pupillary margin. Okay, so you can clearly identify the pupillary margin and the limbus. Okay, we are going to just pass a straight line from those both points. Okay, in this circle, and if the reflection is any other side, then this is a deviation. Okay, here in this part, the left part is normal. You can clearly see the reflection as well as the pupillary margins and the limbus crossing this line, straight this line can. Okay, so basically what will be the normal condition over here? So assume this is the pupillary margin and this was your limbus. Okay, we passed a straight line through both these circles, and what happened when we throw the reflection? If the reflection is over here, then this is a normal. If the if the reflection is somewhere else, like here or here, then there is a divergence. Okay, very simple test. The next test comes is Bruckner's test. In this test we use the screen squint and amblyopia for infants. Okay, so if this condition is developed in an infant, so we use this test to identify. So we are basically using this ophthalmoscope by assessing a red fundal reflection. Okay, red, remember the appearance should be reddish. Okay, so ophthalmoscope which has a red fundal reflection. Let us see an image. So this is the red fundal. Okay, so it would basically look like a reddish. Basically when we look at the retina or the fundus, we get a reddish appearance like this. Okay, so if it is a dark reddish one, okay, if it is dark or bright reddish in color, then in the both eyes if there is a bright reddish color, then this is normal condition. Okay, if there is brightness but different in each eye, then this is a refractive error. And the last, that is, if the eyes are bright in color and have squint, then the left eye, then it will be appear like this. Okay, so basically this is a squint eye in which one is darker in color and one is a little light dark in color. So here you can see this eye has a dull or very bright red color, and this eye has a brighter red, this eye has a brighter red color. So this eye would be suffering from the squint. Okay, this is only in the case of squint. The remaining tests will be covered in the another video.